Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is part 1 of What If Deku had a Venom Quirk. Yes, it's gonna be a little different than your, it's not gonna be necessarily Venom itself, but it is something very similar. So today we are going to dive into that type of what if. This is going to be how my normal what ifs are. I know the last video I did was a little bit different and it seems like you guys kind of liked it. I'm going to definitely implement those one-shot styles where I'm going to be just talking about things that I think could occur or could have occurred in the story. Maybe I'll do some solo leveling ones. Maybe I'll do some Tanjiro ones like I did in the past, and so on and so forth. Maybe we'll even do some Shield Hero stuff. I would love to do some more stuff in that style where it's about maybe a 35 to 40 minute video and it's just me ranting about how I think the story would unfold, aka the different things that would change in that reality. Now, let me stop yapping on and on about that because I want to get right into this part. I want to get right into the story, so let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is born just like any other kid, any other day, but in the world or in the country of Japan. He is born in this world and it's littered with superpowers known as quirks. These quirks really define a person in terms of what they are going to do with their lives. Some people, well, they have a horrible quirk, something that brings them down and they have to just go throughout life with a bit of a struggle. Some others have a special quirk, something that would allow them to be heroic or allow them to save people on a day-to-day basis. And others, maybe they're right in the middle. Maybe they're given something that isn't really that favorable but isn't that bad at all, and they become kind of an ordinary person. But there's also people out there that are given powers that are destructive, that are given powers that could really shake up society. And let's just say if people like that start getting morally messed up and intertwined and start really seeing the darker shades of the gray, well, we would be dealing with something that is pretty damn scary. Well, and that is exactly what we're looking at here. Izuku Midoriya, well, he would be told that he has a quirk, but his quirk is odd. Very, very odd. They don't know much about what's happening. They don't know much about what's going on. It seems like the quirk lays dormant or kind of still in his body, and it's kind of this substance that may or may not awaken in some way. Now, it's odd, very odd, but they don't really know much about it. They can't put their finger on it. They can't tell him, hey, this is what it does, and so on. So they're kind of just sitting there on, nothing, no information, no nothing. So Izuku would continue to just go throughout life normally, all the way up until he's around 8, 9 years old. And then eventually he would begin to hear something. A voice with a deep tone begins to speak to him through what seems to be his mind. And he begins to listen to this voice, and it's kind of an odd experience, you could say. Now, this voice would tell him that he will be stronger than you could possibly imagine. And that this voice would continue to tell him that they can have whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want. Izuku is taken back by this and isn't really understanding what this voice is even saying, and begins to think that maybe it's him thinking this way. Maybe it's his own mental thing or mental kind of voice telling him that they could do whatever he wants. And frankly, that's not very All Might-esque, right? That's not very good person type of thought process. So what does he have to do seriously to fix this mindset that's going on? But he doesn't even really know how to kind of approach or even say anything about it, eventually leading him down the pathway of basically seeing his quirk in action when Bakugo begins to bully him. When he's around the age of 10, Bakugo would begin to bully him, call him names, and even shoot explosions at Izuku. Izuku could feel the explosions and they burn. They hurt really bad. But Bakugo is not actually hitting Izuku necessarily. It just hurts him. He doesn't really understand why. He doesn't understand why it hurts him so badly when it's really not that close to him. But eventually, Izuku's emotions would take over, and Izuku could feel this creepy, crawling thing underneath his skin as it begins to overlap with his own body. Izuku can feel something stretching and going over him, and immediately he realizes what it is. A black-like or black and purple-like substance begins to cover his body, and Bakugo begins to absolutely freak out, thinking that this kid is some monster, that he is some freak of nature, that he doesn't like what is happening, what is he doing? And this is where Bakugo makes a conscious decision to basically just get away. Bakugo immediately would kind of take off, try to not be around Izuku, because Izuku has killer instinct in his eyes, so much so that it seems as if his eyes begin to broaden, as if they're taking over part of his face, and then eventually his body would be covered by that black and purple goop, and well, it's looking like he's a monster, a creature, a freak of nature. And Izuku tells Bakugo that he will never touch them again, because if he does, then he'll do what he has to do. If that means killing Bakugo, then that means killing Bakugo, in which Bakugo would be gone at this point, running away as fast as humanly possible, and he would be terrified. And many people would hear about this occurrence, and many people would begin to isolate themselves from Izuku as much as possible. At the end of the day, they don't want anything to do with him. Like, he is terrifying. He is a monster. And it seems as if Izuku feels that he doesn't really care. Like, he doesn't care at all. He doesn't care that they feel that he's some monster. He doesn't care that they feel that he's some scary freak that's never going to be anything or never going to be able to do anything. He doesn't care. What he cares about is this upcoming future that he can build for himself, and this upcoming future that he can do things the way of that he believes he should be able to do things. Now, that would include getting into UA high school, so he begins to kind of work with this being, work with Venom, or this kind of creature that is known as Venom that is within his body, or his body manifested throughout his being, and he continues to work with him, learning his capabilities and learning about the bond that they currently have, in which this is when Izuku would be growing up. He would be getting older, and older, and it would be time for them to basically be done with middle school for the most part. And his still only goal is to get into UA high school. And this would be the last day of middle school, and they would be telling him, or telling everybody, that they all, or that he knows, the teacher knows, that they all want to be heroes, and so on and so forth, and yada yada yada. And they have Izuku and Bakugo trying out for UA, in which everybody is saying that it doesn't, it makes sense that Bakugo's trying, but Izuku, he's kind of a monster. Like, he's not really the hero type. Do you really think he's going to be a hero? Like, seriously? Like, there's no way Izuku is going to make it to be a hero. In which Izuku tells them that they better pray that he does become a hero, because if he doesn't, then they might have an even bigger issue on their hands than they can possibly imagine. in which everybody, well, they're terrified. They think that he's dead serious, and partially Izuku is serious, but he obviously isn't fully serious in this point. But everybody is terrified at the fact that he basically said that if he wants to be a villain, that he's going to be a villain. And there's absolutely not a single thing anybody can do about it. And which is, it's pretty terrifying to hear someone say something like that. And pretty freaking terrifying to see that Izuku's really not kind of lying here. He's pretty damn serious about it. Like, he's basically telling them, hey, he is going to do whatever he wants, and if that means he's forced into the life of being a villain, then that means he's going to be forced into that life. He doesn't care. He believes that he deserves what he wants to get, and he's going to get what he deserves. And that is the end of it all. Just like that. And for starters, he's going to try to get into UA, but it's not going to be a try. It's going to be a getting into UA high school with flying colors, and it's going to be very easy for them. In which everybody is like, what do you mean them, right? Like, you mean you and Bakugo? Like, what, you and Bakugo, what, you guys are friends now? In which Izuku looks at them and shakes his head and says, no. That they shouldn't worry about who them is. Just worry about the person that's in front of you. Because other than that, that's the only thing that matters. In which everybody is kind of in shock to hear something like this, but Izuku kind of shrugs it off, and as the day would end, he would obviously leave and head home, and or at least try to head home, and he would be going underneath what seems to be a bridge. And underneath him, he can feel rumblings and stuff happening. And it seems as if, well, there's something going on beneath the ground. Or maybe in the sewer system. And in that sewer system is a villain completely made out of sludge. And he completely just comes out of this manhole cover and begins trying to attack Izuku. Izuku would stand still as he watches the sludge villain charge at him. And as Izuku watches this happen, his body would then contort and change as it would begin to be covered in this black-like sludge. And immediately, the sludge villain would stop in its tracks. Izuku, in a dark and very intimidating voice, would tell the sludge villain that he's made a grave mistake if he thinks that he's going to take over them. In which the sludge villain is completely terrified by this, thinking that this kid is a monster. I mean, even worse than him. Like, this is terrifying. What the hell can this kid do? In which Izuku walks over towards that sludge villain. As the sludge villain tries to get away, Izuku would reach out and grab him. As he grabs him and pulls him back, it seems as if the venom or the symbiote type of creature that kind of lives within Izuku begins to overwhelm the sludge villain, soaking the sludge villain in, well, kind of its own symbiotic kind of kind of goop. And as he begins to take over the sludge villain entirely. As he takes over the sludge villain, he would begin absorbing the sludge villain within his own body as it begins to kind of contort and change around him, and he absorbs the sludge villain entirely, and then it's gone. Izuku would turn back to his normal self, and, well, through that same manhole cover, All Might would then arrive, saying, I am here, but then realizing the sludge villain is no longer there. Of course, he would ask Izuku and see the kid and ask him, hey, what happened? Like, where's the villain? The villain should have came through here. In which Izuku says that there is no villain, that the villain didn't come through here. And he heard a ruckus somewhere, but he doesn't know where the villain is now. He heard it, but he didn't actually end up coming through. In which All Might would be shocked to hear this, thinking that it must have been a different pathway, a different kind of exit. How did he get away? So immediately All Might would jump back into the sewer system without Izuku being able to, ask him for an autograph or anything like that. And he would take off going to a different direction. But the sludge villain obviously is no more and isn't actually in that sewer system, at least not anymore. Now, Izuku would head home, and for the next 10 months would begin his kind of training and his preparation for this UA entrance exam. He would begin studying and doing all these things, but he could also feel that this creature, this part of him that is obviously kind of this other symbiotic different person slash kind of creature, is truly making him powerful, truly making him what he truly wants to be. But he still feels that he puts his next or his best foot forward, and he begins to train. He begins to get used to this creature, even so much so that he could even utilize the creature in various different ways. Now, this creature continues to kind of have his voice be heard more and more, and this creature continues to speak sweet nothings into Izuku's ear. But soon the UA entrance exam would be approaching, and the UA entrance exam would be, well, it would be time to go for Izuku. Now, the written portion is a decently easy portion for Izuku. He's studied up and he's ready to go, and kind of doesn't have much of a difficult time. Doesn't have much of a difficult time, at least, taking care of that portion of the exam. And then eventually, he also takes on the more practical portion of the exam, which is defeating or destroying robots. Now, defeating or destroying robots is a totally different thing, because Izuku, well, he begins to show off exactly what he's capable of, because he begins to enter into his Venom-like form, and he begins to thrash on almost every single robot that he could possibly see, destroying them with just his bare hands, it seems. But obviously he's in a more monstrous form, kind of destroying robot after robot after robot. I mean, he is leaping everywhere, as if he's kind of this monster, this creature, and he's leaping from building to building, robot to robot, and smashing and crashing and destroying every single robot you could possibly see. And then there it is. He would basically be done with destroying so many robots, but eventually a 0-point robot, a giant robot, would begin to walk toward him. As he sees this, he knows it's not worth anything, but he still has this urge and this feeling to attack it, to get more experience and destroy it, and basically assert his dominance. In which, that's exactly what he does. He jumps toward the 0-point robot, and he begins to claw his way through, begins to absolutely destroy this robot, or destroy the robot, and he just obliterates it, smashing and digging his way through the robots. Everybody is in complete and utter shock. Everybody is in complete and utter shock. Like, seriously, everyone is completely in awe at the fact that Izuku is, just able to do these things, or this random kid that just showed up is able to do these things. Like, how is he able to do them? Like, seriously, how is he able to actually get this far with his whatever his quirk is, and how is he so strong? Everybody is questioning it, and let's just say the teachers have a keen eye on him, because, well, there's just no way that he's using or utilizing some creature or something along those lines. That they can't really point and put their finger on it, but they don't know. But they need to be prepared for whatever this kid is, and that's exactly what they're thinking, because this kid, well, if they could truly make him, the ideal hero, there should be no issues at all, because this kid has potential even beyond some people that are the highest ranking of them all. So Izuku would finally finish the exam, head home, and await his eventual letter that he'd be waiting for. And once that letter would arrive, and once it would say that he's welcomed into Class 1A into UA High School, well, let's just say the excitement that he felt when he was just a young kid, it's restored once again, and he's excited to take on this new challenge to become a hero. At least that's what he's thinking right now. Is all he can think about is becoming a hero. And the first day of UA High School, meeting Aizawa and being tested, a quirk assessment test, well, let's just say it was simple. Very, very simple. Throw a ball as far as you can. Easy enough, right? Run as fast as you can. Easy enough. And he begins to channel this creature within himself, but he does it in a more minor way. When he was crazy fighting robots, he took on and donned a giant form. But now he's donning a smaller, more compact, more kind of sensible form, but it still maintains a relative amount of strength, and on top of that gives him a little bit more ability to move around without feeling like a big monster that's going to destroy everything, right? He's more of it's more like a smaller version of it, but more of like a compact suit, or a venomized suit, you could even say, to a certain extent. But this quirk assessment is nothing for Izuku. Izuku passes this thing with flying colors, and he makes it very, very known why he is the #1 student in Class 1A. And it's very clear that this version of Izuku is leaps and bounds ahead of so many people that stand in front of him. And Bakugo, someone who is still there, someone who is still competing, feels that his top spot, the one that he once held, the one that everybody thought of him as, is now being taken away. That is now being completely and utterly stripped from him, because Izuku is on a totally different level. Because Izuku is on a totally different field of play. And Izuku is proven that day in and day out, and he's going to prove it the next time they do a training session, because another day would pass and they would have a training session for heroes versus villains, and it would be Izuku Midoriya and Ochaku Uraka versus Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. In this heroes versus villains session is actually put on by All Might. All Might begins to instruct everybody, telling everybody what they need to do, and also even tells kind of the hero group that they're going to be capturing a bomb, and that's like their main goal. They have about 5 minutes to do so, and that's their main goal. And the villains, their goal is to either completely capture the heroes or stall out for those 5 minutes. And to keep that in mind, that Izuku and his group will go first, and everybody watches as Izuku would begin to, well, suit up. As he suits up, Izuku would tell Ochako to basically stay out of his way, because Bakugo is going to come spiraling down like an angry Pomeranian, and he's going to have to handle him like he always does. In which the timer is up and Izuku walks in, and Bakugo comes spiraling down that staircase, telling him that he's nothing, that he's going to prove why he is the #1 in this school, in UA, shoot, in Class 1A, UA, all of the above. And Bakugo begins to shoot blasts and explosions at Izuku. Yes, this does make him slightly weaker, but Izuku has felt this his entire life, has dealt with fire, explosions, and so on his entire life. And the training and all the things that he's gone through, well, this means absolutely nothing. Does it hurt? Of course it hurts. Does it make him feel pain? Of course it makes him feel pain. But it means absolutely nothing to him as long as he wins and defeats Bakugo. He would slam Bakugo on the ground and would pin him entirely with his Venom-like symbiote, and he would completely encapsulate Bakugo. He would step on Bakugo's chest, telling him that he is nothing, that he used to call him useless, that they thought he had no quirk just because it was something that couldn't be explained. But now he's going to understand why he was so wrong. In which Izuku would begin to kind of strangle Bakugo, almost to the point where he's suffocating Bakugo, but then he would stop, knocking him out and then tying him up in capture tape as he would quickly climb the building to where the bomb is. Izuku had to resist the urge of ending Bakugo, but actually just decided to knock him out instead. He would then crash through the window where the bomb is, and he would pin Tenya Ida to the wall, immediately kind of splashing this like web kind of symbiotic / liquid goo type of thing onto Tenya Ida as it splatters on the wall, and he kind of gets stuck to the wall, like some sort of webbing of some sorts, something that captures him entirely, and he would touch the bomb and the training session would be over. After it is all said and done, of course All Might would speak to them, tell them what they did wrong, right, and so on. But of course, he would bring up the fact that Izuku was a little bit brutal, you could say. And Izuku was a little bit, you could say, aggressive. Now Izuku tells him that, hey, like, he did what he needed to do to get the job done. And yes, he was a little bit aggressive, but what happens to All Might when he's a little bit aggressive? When All Might lays a Detroit smash on somebody and he's not holding back, isn't it the same thing? I mean, he's seen All Might destroy buildings, destroy skyscrapers, destroy many things. What would that do to somebody who's not durable enough to take it? In which All Might would hear this and would get an uneasy feeling. What is this kid? Well, what is his point? What is he getting at? And why is he kind of weirdly directing this in an odd way? And Izuku would kind of just be quiet after it is all said and done, and he would just tell All Might that he'll do better next time. He promises. In which he would stand aside and watch as everybody else would kind of go about their way in the training session. But the real thing is about to come, because the USJ is supposed to be a training rescue facility, but this time around, it's not what you would think it was going to be, because Izuku and all of his classmates would arrive at the USJ to see that there are villain after villain after villain, as they see them pouring out of the portals, as Aizawa and the other teacher, Pro Hero 13, begins to tell them to stay back, to make sure that the students are safe and everyone's safe and blah, blah, blah. Well, Izuku would look closely at what he's seeing, look closely at everyone there, and he would see something, feel something. And as he looks toward the main villains, he would see this creature of some sorts that is mindless. This creature of some sorts that doesn't know what they're doing and only takes orders. And Izuku's face would begin to halfway come across as a venomized kind of person, and he would kind of don that face that he takes on in full transformation, and a smile would grow, and his tongue would begin to kind of salivate at the fact that this creature could be absorbed or taken over for him, for them. Izuku would stand there watching as Aizawa would fight the villains, taking them on, and Izuku would watch as Pro Hero 13 would struggle to try to keep everyone safe. Izuku watches as a portal begins to open up and is about to consume him, but he would get out of the way. Get out of the way and jump towards this giant mob of people that Aizawa is fighting. And in one foul swoop, Izuku is able to knock every single one of them on their asses and knock them out entirely, giving some of them extremely bad damage. We're talking bad damage. As Shigaraki would see this, he would sick the Nomu on them, but Izuku would stop the Nomu, would transform into his full Venom form, stopping the Nomu, grabbing and holding and honestly just holding the Nomu back initially as his kind of creature that is dormant within, or that is within his body, begins to absorb and kind of surround the Nomu. As it surrounds the Nomu, as it completely and utterly encapsulates it, it begins to truly take over. The Nomu would be covered entirely, but would be separate from Izuku. The Nomu would then turn around slowly as its eyes would grow white, and his eyes would be these large white eyes, and Izuku would look toward the other villains and immediately smirk and say, "We are Venom." And as he says this, the Nomu would screech out of all, like, the surrounding area can be heard entirely. The screech can be heard from the school way over in the distance. And Shigaraki and Kurogiri stand there in complete and utter shock, wondering what this kid truly is. But for now, that is where we're going to end off part 1 of What If Deku Had a Venom Quirk. If you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And yeah, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, that's really all I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to show some love, like I said. And yeah, that's all I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.